Okay, everyone, how's it going? So let's do some chart analysis on our favorite coins. Okay, so out of my favorite coins, Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash still seem to be leading to me. They're taking turns leading, okay? So let's look at this daily chart on Litecoin. We can see we've changed our daily trend now. We can see that because we had the low at about 47.50, okay? Then we made a high at about 64.25. Then we had this little bull flag pattern, okay, and then we broke out of this pattern right here, and we made a higher high and a higher low on the daily. And we have actually made another higher low right here, and now we're in daily continuation for Litecoin, okay? So we've also had a cross of the daily exponentials with a back test of support and continuation on the daily, okay? So if you look back on the Litecoin daily chart, when is the last time we had a daily cross of the exponentials, a back test, and a continuation? Let's see here. Well, we did have it in early September, and then we can see that it failed, and we went back down. So what we need to look for is a change of the weekly pattern to be more confident that our monthly has changed, okay? So right now we are at the brink of an inside bar bull break on the weekly. We are hitting weekly resistance though, okay? So what we want to see is maybe a little bit of pullback off of resistance, and then a higher high and a higher low to change this weekly trend on Litecoin, okay? Then we can be confident that our monthly higher low has been set right here, okay? And again, it's important to realize that these monthly charts on the major coins are very healthy. We see increasing bull volume on the way up, and then decreasing bear volume on the way down. And then we want to see, hopefully this month, as we break out, and next month we see increasing bull volume. That's what we want to see, okay? Back on the way up, but very healthy on the monthly chart, and we've changed our daily trend, which is a very good sign for Litecoin, okay? If we look at the Litecoin Bitcoin chart, it's also changed its daily trend, which is what you want to see as well, okay? We want to be bullish versus the dollar and Bitcoin. We see that on Litecoin on the daily chart here, we've also gotten a daily cross of the daily exponentials, and we've back tested it, and we are moving up, okay? And so we are now in a daily uptrend versus both the dollar and Bitcoin for Litecoin, okay? And again, we are hitting weekly resistance as well, okay? So again, probably not going to break bullish right now. We did basically do a double bottom. It'd be pretty close to a trend change if we break 7875. But what we're probably going to see is hitting resistance like we are. Then we want to see a little bit of a pullback, hold support, and then we want to see a bull break. And then we can be confident that we'll be in a monthly uptrend versus Bitcoin as well as the dollar. And that's what you really want to see, okay? It's double bullish when a coin is in an uptrend versus Bitcoin as well as the dollar, okay? If we look at Bitcoin Cash, it's also been a market leader. Look at this weekly chart versus the dollar. We've already gone up about 50%, okay? From about $200 to about $300. That's a $100 move. That's a 50% move in a couple weeks, okay? Again, what we want to see is a little bit of a pullback maybe. But we could just see continuation too, and we have a lot of room. Bitcoin Cash can pull back almost 50% and still set a weekly higher low on the dollar chart, okay? And again, same thing on the monthly. It's also looking to set its monthly higher low, okay? It's already changed the daily trend, okay? You can see this daily trend, similar to Litecoin, it's leading as well. Cross of the exponentials, but to be even more sure that we've set our monthly higher low, we want to see a trend change on the weekly, okay? But don't be surprised if you pull back a little and then form a higher low and then a bull break, okay? And then again, Bitcoin Cash, similar to Litecoin, it's also changing its trend versus Bitcoin, okay? So we look at the Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin daily chart. We've been in a daily uptrend for some time now with also a cross of the daily exponentials. I would say it's a little more choppy than the Litecoin chart compared to Bitcoin though. And then let's see what's going on here. Basically a double bottom, and then we saw a bull break on the weekly, okay? And we're also hitting, we're very close to hitting resistance here too. We're very close to breaking bullish versus Bitcoin on the weekly on Bitcoin Cash too. And if you look back, this is very interesting. Bitcoin Cash I don't think has ever been in a weekly uptrend versus Bitcoin. Okay, so let's look back here. Let's see, lower lows, lower highs. Had a bull break, but no follow through. See, if we want to change a weekly trend, we have to set a higher low and then a higher high. We had to break this to change the weekly trend, but we didn't. We had another bear break. And basically, it's been in a weekly downtrend versus Bitcoin for all of its existence. So if it breaks bullish here and it gets over weekly resistance, that'll be a big milestone for Bitcoin Cash. And it'll be in a weekly uptrend versus the dollar and Bitcoin for maybe the first time in its existence, okay? And then we are trying to set a higher low versus Bitcoin on the monthly as well, okay? So to me, Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin are taking turns leading the market, and then they are dragging Bitcoin up. You know, Bitcoin is the same story, still very healthy on the monthly, increasing bull volume, and then on the way up, and we are back testing that monthly exponential support, okay? So let's take a look at some of the smaller coins. Let's look at Populous, okay? One of my favorite coins to be accumulating right now because it's so low. So let's look at the dollar chart. So volume precedes price, okay? And we can see that we're getting massive volume spikes, bull volume spikes on Populous, okay? See these surges? Look at the bull volume. What do you see compared to the bear volume? It's about 3 times, right? More than 3 times the bull volume on these spikes. And then the bear volume is dropping off, okay? And so that's a very good sign for Populous. That's volume precedes price. And so if we're getting massive bull volume compared to bear volume, that tells me that this thing is gonna run. That's what I think. Okay. Look on the weekly too. Much bigger bull volume compared to bear volume, okay? And we have changed our daily trend on Populous versus the dollar. And then we're close to changing our weekly trend. I would say we haven't. We did get a bull break here. We didn't get follow through. What we do want to see is more follow through on the weekly to be sure that we changed our weekly trend. Okay. And then the PPT Bitcoin chart is probably pretty similar. Okay. But again, look at this bull volume. Okay. It's actually closer to changing its weekly trend here. Okay. So on the weekly here, if we break 7450 versus Bitcoin, we'll be in a weekly uptrend versus Bitcoin. Okay, and if that happens, we'd most likely be in a weekly uptrend versus the dollar as well, unless something weird happened where Bitcoin crashed a lot while Populous went up, which isn't very likely. That this market tends to move together, as you know. But yeah, Populous. For me, the biggest thing with Populous is this massive bull volume that's happening with way less bear volume. Okay, and volume precedes price. And we can see massive accumulation going on of these fire sale prices in Populous. Okay, let's look at Pillar, another one of my holdings. As you know, my favorite 3 utility tokens are Populous, Pillar, and Veritasium. Okay, so Pillar versus Tether. Okay, again, we're getting these massive spikes. Okay, but the volume, there's not as much volume on Pillar compared to Populous, so it is harder to gauge the volume. Let's look at the daily here. Again, this is more bull volume going on than bear volume, so that's a good sign for Pillar as well. We are in a daily uptrend. Okay, we can see higher highs and higher lows on the daily. These wicks are obviously pretty hard to compensate for because Pillar does have barely any liquidity. I think Pillar is like $5,000 of daily volume or something like that. Okay, and then the weekly, let's see here. Yeah, to actually change our daily trend, technically, if you want to include the wick, we would have to break that level. We would have to break 0.089 on Pillar which isn't likely anytime soon. More likely is that we're going to see a weekly equilibrium, or we'll at least let's look at the monthly. How close are we changing our monthly trend? Yeah, it's pretty choppy here. It's hard to use technical analysis as much on Pillar because it's like, do you really want to include these wicks? But it is pretty close to changing its trends versus the dollar, especially if you don't include these crazy wicks, okay? It's probably a similar story versus the Bitcoin. But again, the most important thing is, especially look at this. There's more liquidity on the Bitcoin chart we can see here. Now, it's actually closer to changing its trend versus Bitcoin. We can see we made a high right here, and then we made a higher low. And then we're looking to set our lower high somewhere in here, make one more higher low, and then hopefully have a bull break. But look at this volume. Same thing to Populous. Someone is accumulating these coins, you guys. Look at the bull volume. The volume tells the story. And again, volume precedes price. Someone is accumulating these coins near the bottom. And we can tell from that massive bull volume compared to the bear volume, there's no more sellers on these coins, you guys. Now, you can make the case that these coins might die. They'll die from lack of liquidity, right? Pillar has like no liquidity. And so the price could stay the same, and then it'll just slowly die from no use and lack of liquidity. But the price itself, it's hard to argue that they haven't bottomed on these coins, okay? And to me, it looks like accumulation is going on. Someone's accumulating these coins. Same story on Veritasium. Let's look at that. People don't realize. Let's look at the Veritasium chart since the SEC FUD, okay? And I have to use Yahoo because it's not on TradingView. But look at this. We had our low. It went down to like $4, right, at the SEC FUD. But look on the weekly. We've actually changed our weekly trend and just now got a cross of the weekly exponentials versus the dollar. Okay, so that's significant. Veritasium's actually a weekly uptrend. Many people don't realize this. And price action tells the story. Now you can make the case Veritasium might be a scam to you, or you might think that the SEC has completely shut them down, but you can just look. It's making higher highs and higher lows on the weekly. It's in a weekly uptrend. It's in a daily uptrend as well. Look at this. It's in a daily uptrend. Let's look at the 4-hour. 4-hour, it's more choppy, okay? But, on a token like this, you don't even want to look at the 4-hour. On these tokens, you want to use you don't want to go, with these low market cap tokens that I'm looking at, you don't want to go below, like, the daily chart, okay? And maybe probably the weekly chart is what's most important. The weekly and the monthly. But you can't even really trade these coins with a lack of liquidity, so you just want to look at the big picture. But we are in a weekly uptrend again with the cross of the weekly exponentials, okay? You can see this. We bottomed here at $4. We made a high around like 16. We made a higher low around 10, and then we had a bull break. That's a full-on. That's a weekly trend change for Veritasium. It's in a daily and weekly uptrend versus the dollar. And let's look at the 1 month on Veritasium. I don't know who's accumulating these coins, but someone is. Someone's changing these trends. Monthly, we're not technically in an uptrend yet. We made a low here, and then we did get an inside bar bull break. But what we want to see is a lower high and a higher low to actually change the trend. But it's harder to gauge the monthly as well. I would say the most clear on this coin on Veritasium is going to be the daily and the monthly. Okay, and the most important for me is going to be the daily and the weekly. And the most important for me right now is looking at this Veritasium weekly chart, weekly uptrend. Let's look at the Veritasium Bitcoin chart, which should be pretty similar. If we look at the Bitcoin chart, it's probably in a weekly uptrend as well. Okay, and we see declining volume, which is interesting. Yeah, cross of the weekly exponentials, and we're in a weekly uptrend versus Bitcoin too. So Veritasium is in a weekly and a daily uptrend versus Bitcoin and the US dollar, despite the SEC FUD, despite so many people thinking it's a scam. I don't know. I can tell you that I bought some during peak SEC FUD. I'm not going to tell you how much, but I bought some down here, okay? I increased my stack significantly, okay? And the price action tells an interesting story. Someone is accumulating these coins. Someone isn't convinced that the SEC is going to completely destroy Veritasium. And look at this cross of the weekly exponentials. Very bullish, very, very bullish. Okay. But for me, again, I still recommend, this is not financial advice. But for me personally, I still want to be mostly in the majors. For me, I'm still mostly holding Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin. These are leading out of the majors for me, and they're more liquid and they're safe. Okay, but our favorite utility tokens, my favorite Pillar, Veritasium, Populous, there's accumulation happening there, and these projects might fail and they might die from lack of liquidity, but the charts are telling an interesting story, especially on Veritasium. The Veritasium price action is very, very telling to me. Okay, that's not the price action of a coin that is dying. Do you understand? That's not the price action of a coin that is dying. Okay. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay safe out there, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye.